Welcome back to ACG's GrowthTV. I'm Carolyn Vallejo, and I'm here today with Joe McDougall. He's operating partner at Trive Capital and managing director of TC Operating Partners. So right now there is a renewed focus on value creation efforts among PE firms. When does that process start for you and your team?
You know, it really depends. We're a generalist firm, so we invest in lots of different industries and oftentimes at different points in the life cycle of that company. The common thread for us is we do a lot of founder-led companies in the lower middle market. So our team gets involved as early as diligence, where we may be helping a management team kind of think about what's to come, kind of once the deal closes. The vast majority of our work, however, happens post-close. Kind of in those first, call it 6 months of the post-close timeline. We'll get involved with everything from kind of the simple around bank reporting packaging, things of that nature, all the way through helping them think about organization strategy sessions, et cetera.
Okay. So I know you spoke on a DealMax panel about strategies and KPIs to measure success. Can you talk a little bit about some of the key takeaways from that discussion?
Yeah, it was really interesting. We had a great panel from very different private equity firms and firms that think about their approach to working with management teams very differently. And my big takeaway from it was it's really important for operating partners and operating partner groups to have somewhat of a chameleon-like approach to the work that they do and be able to kind of match the work that they do to the style of not just the firm, but also perhaps the deal leads of those firms. And the more that you can kind of match that style, the more effective you'll be. And that style could be everything from how do they like to communicate? What's the frequency of communications? To, how do they think about actual engagement with a portfolio company, right? Some want to be much more hands-on, much more involved. Others perhaps back off a little bit, right? And matching that cadence really helps with effectiveness. So really interesting conversation, and I think we got all flavors of that on the panel today.
Now let's turn our attention to numbers and statistics, and measuring KPIs is important, but sometimes it can be tricky. It can kind of turn into a check the box exercise. So what are the questions that operating partners really need to be asking themselves to make sure that they're tracking the right metrics and that they're doing so effectively?
Yes, good. It's a great question, and again, it's kind of, I think back to that same kind of panel discussion where I think it depends, right? And it depends is not a great answer. But it depends on what's really the goal, what's the thesis of that particular portfolio company, and how do you start measuring the right things early to help them down that track? Because if you're not doing that early, it gets a lot harder 2 or 3 years into the investment to one, measure, to collect the data to be able to kind of look back and say, have we been on the right track? So really thinking about deal thesis, matching it to KPIs, getting that underway quickly, I think really can help an operating partner be effective. And then as far as operating partners themselves measuring their own effectiveness, there's lots of flavors of that and lots of ways to get after it. Everything from kind of true dollar savings from a value creation perspective or growth metrics or what have you, all the way through things like we're using at our firm, which is Net Promoter Score, which is kind of something you don't think about for an internal part of an organization, but we found it as an effective way to say, how are we doing with both our deal teams and management teams, and do they want to use this again?
Okay, so there's no one-size-fits-all approach.
Unfortunately not.
Got it. Well, thank you so much, Joe, for joining GrowthTV and sharing your insights.
It's been a pleasure.